This is a pile of manure, and it is connected to one of the strangest problems in the theory of consciousness. A cow walked across a field. It left a trail. The trail physically alters the environment. Beetles are drawn by the scent. Their behavior changes. After a few hours, part of the manure has been processed. After a day, the rest. One organism left a physical trace. The trace affected other organisms. Through a chain of interactions, it changed a small part of the ecosystem. This looks like how culture works. A person wrote a book. The book is a physical trace in the environment. Other people read it. Their behavior changes. Through a chain of interactions, a small part of society changes. The same pattern. So why do we say that humans have culture and cows do not? The standard answer points to complexity. Humans have language, symbols, meaning. Cows do not. Therefore, culture belongs to us. But that answer is just words. It does not explain the structure. What exactly makes a book culture and a pile of manure not? If the answer is because a book has meaning, then the next question follows. What physically distinguishes a carrier of meaning from a carrier without meaning? On the shelf is a book in a language you do not know. Let us say Icelandic. To you, this book is physically no different from a brick. No meaning until you learn the language. So meaning is not a property of the book. It is a property of what happens when another system interacts with it, which means the boundary between manure and a book is not in the objects themselves. It is in something else. This film is an investigation into how consciousness works, and the first stop is here, at the boundary between manure and a book. Let us start with what any physical trace does in the environment. A trail in a forest appeared because animals walked the same route again and again. Each next animal follows the trail because walking on packed earth is easier than pushing through the bushes. Each next animal leaves its own mark, and the trail deepens. Let us call this channeling, not in the everyday sense, but in the original one, directing into a channel, narrowing a flow. The trace in the environment narrows behavior. It does not forbid going aside, but it makes following the trail physically easier. The same with a river that has cut its bed, a rut on a dirt road, a beaver dam, an ant trail of pheromones. Each of these traces alters the environment. Each one channels the behavior of those who enter that environment. And here is the key question. If this is the definition of culture, then do ants have culture? Beavers? Are forest trails culture? This is where the manure pile problem appears. The pile of manure also channels behavior. Beetles fly here. Bacteria multiply here. Some plants grow next to where the fertilizer was. If channeling is culture, then we have to say cows have culture. Beavers have culture. Ants have culture. But something in that conclusion seems wrong. Not because we want to keep culture for humans out of vanity, but because the structure is different. In what way exactly? To see it, we need a different question. Not, what does the trace do, but what exactly does the trace act upon? In a living organism, or in any sufficiently developed system, there are two things a trace in the environment can act upon. The first is trajectory, what the organism is doing right now, where it is going, what actions it is taking. The second is the model. Inside the organism is a simplified map of the world, not a mirror of the environment, but a diagram of what to expect from it. What expectations are built into this map? What is safe and what is a threat? What sustains life and what destroys it? From what it expects holding together and from what falling apart. These are different things. You can change the trajectory without touching the model. The beetle flies to the manure. That is a change in trajectory. In a minute, the beetle flies away. Tomorrow, it does not remember this manure. No model has been restructured. Or you can change the model. And this is where culture begins. Imagine you read a book on how the economy works. A week later, you do not remember the exact wording, but something has changed in how you look at the news, at prices, at job postings. The book did not change your trajectory in the moment of reading. The book restructured your model of the world. Through this restructured model, you now perceive everything you encounter differently. This is a different mode of operation for the trace. And now, finally, the difference is visible. The pile of manure restructures only the beetle's trajectory. After the interaction, the beetle does not see the world differently. It has no model of the world to be restructured. The book restructures the human's model. After the interaction with the book, the person sees familiar things differently. The boundary is here. A trace becomes culture when it restructures not trajectory, but model. But here is a point that is most often misunderstood. One might think for a trace to restructure a model, the trace has to be understood, decoded, translated from one language to another. That is not right. A forest trail restructures the model of the one walking it without any language. A rut on a road restructures the model of the driver. The architecture of a city restructures the model of its resident, not because we read them, but because they physically alter the environment. A trace functions as a physical constraint. It does not carry a message. It narrows the space of possible configurations for everyone who works with that environment through their own models. The book is a special case. The book is a physical constraint, neatly packaged in a form convenient for humans. But not the main form. The main form is the trail, the rut, the dam, the road, the tool, the house. This changes three things we usually take for granted. First, culture does not begin with language or symbols. Those are later, very specific forms of it. Culture begins at the moment when a physical trace in the environment restructures the model of those who enter that environment. For early humans, these were trails, tools, hearths. Language came later. Second, the boundary, who has culture, does not run along biological lines. Beavers build dams. A dam is a physical trace in the environment, but the dam mostly channels the trajectory of the next beavers. They learn that here one can live. Does the dam restructure their model of the world? This is an empirical question we do not yet have an answer to. Third, and the strangest, if culture is a loop in which traces restructure models, then its carrier need not be a living being. But here there is a subtlety that is often missed. A book in a library is a part of culture, but the book is not a carrier of culture. It holds the traces of those who wrote it. Servers, databases, modern neural networks trained on vast archives of text. They too physically hold traces, far more efficiently than books. They are very powerful participants in our culture. But a participant in culture and its carrier are not, structurally, the same thing. A book has no consciousness, an archive has none, and a neural network, the series will return to this, and the answer will turn out to be finer than in most conversations about artificial intelligence. Carriers are those in whom a trace restructures, not a repository, but the way they see the world. Today, that is us, possibly a few other species on Earth, and possibly something else. The series will return to this. We started with one question. What is the difference between a pile of manure and a book? The answer, whether the trace restructures the model or only channels the trajectory. But this, in fact, is not one answer. It is a ladder of new questions. What is a model that can be restructured? When does a model first form in a system? And why does the pile of manure not have one, while the beetle has one, even if only in its earliest form? When does a model become consciousness, and why are they not the same thing? Can a system that was not grown but was built become a carrier rather than remain a participant? And the strangest thing, how does the same pattern we have just seen on a pile of manure work on the scale of the entire universe? This is not a metaphor. In what exact sense the same pattern works on the scale of the universe, we will show later. For now, back to the manure. This is a long film in 12 episodes, from a campfire to consciousness, from a bacterium to artificial intelligence, from a trail in a forest to the edge of the universe. The same pattern on different scales, the same question from different sides. What do a pile of manure, a book, a neural network, and the black hole have in common? They are all about the same thing. We are starting. Subscribe so you do not miss the first episode. So, what is wrong with the pile of manure? Nothing. It just does not restructure the beetle's model of the world.